retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Yeah, we ran out of patience. Boil up with the cold hard hatred. I can feel the vibration. Feet in the streets, it's a new sensation. I wanna break faces on the pavement. I wanna make greatness look complacent. Adrenaline awakened, I can taste it. We can make an impact, grab and then take it. Like a disease, bring to their knees. No pain for their disease. Rage is like a weed, spread into the streets. It's time to make them bleed. 'Cause we just want retribution. Let's go light up the darkness. Make true of an empty promise. Flip cards into weak and harmless. Take to the streets and turn them to a mosh pit. 'Cause we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into What's Shakin' Titans. I'm your host, Gary Bailey, and joining me right here to my right is my sister, April. April, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking.
Awesome. Well, guys, we got a lot to unpack for y'all here today. So before we get started here, we'd like to take the time just to say thank you, everybody who's tuning in live. As always, this is our first live stream. We're really excited. We really want to hear back from y'all. We want to hear your opinions and your thoughts throughout all this. We will be giving shout outs throughout the whole entire live stream. So first of all, let's start out by, let's hit the share button, share this on Facebook, on Twitter, on whatever platform. share the link. Sharing's caring. If you're not yet subscribed to our channel, please take this time to hit the subscribe button. Turn on the notifications to get the latest from What's Shakin' Titans. If you don't know, we already have a Facebook page, a Twitter page, Instagram page. We're on Spotify and Anchor. So definitely look us up on those platforms. And, I'm really excited to get started with today's episode. So, today's first topic is going to be what's shaking around the NFL. And what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be breaking down the top 2 teams in each division. We'll go ahead and actually give y'all our rankings and opinions on each division. We'll go through it each one at a time, starting with the NFC, and then we'll go to the AFC. So with all that being said, I'm going to bring my sister back in here, and we're going to get started. All right. So, April, are you ready to do this?
I'm ready. I'm always ready to talk some football. It's the best part of my day, so let's get this going.
All right. So this is what's shaking around the NFL. So we're going to be breaking down the top teams in each division. We're starting out with the National Football Conference, which is the NFC. So we're going to start with the NFC North. And real quick before we get started, I would like to say I kind of put the wrong emblem on here for the Washington Commanders. So right now it shows their old Redskins logo, so I do apologize for that, and we will have that fixed next time. It was something that I just noticed, which was, a little too late to fix. So, but anyway, so with that being said, the NFC North, we got the Chicago Bears, the Detroit Lions, the Green Bay Packers, and the Minnesota Vikings. So I'm gonna let April give her opinions on the NFC North and who she thinks the top 2 teams is, and then I'll give mine.
Wow, the NFC North is a lot to unpack. You always, for me, I'm the underdog rooter. I always want to see the Chicago Bears do great. Unfortunately, that just hasn't been the case. They're right in there with the Lions and the Green Bay. It's a really tough division. Of course, Green Bay is going to be right there on top, as always. So I think that they are going to be the top runner again. With the Lions in Chicago, they're going to be. I believe that they'll be competitors this year, like they normally aren't big competitors. But I really think that this year that they will be competitors, and it'll be fun to see how that division plays out. As it's kind of, to me, it marks the end of an era for Green Bay's quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. I know that he's one of your favorites and is close to your heart. So it's going to be different to kind of see this year how that whole scenario plays out.
Definitely. So for me, it was of course, your clear number 1 is Green Bay in the NFC North. They're going to be your clear number 1. My number 2, my number 2 is gonna shock some people. I kind of was referring back with our brother PJ earlier, who is also kind of like a inside reporter, I guess you could say, or just kind of an analyst for us. And so we were kind of conferring over this, and we got talking about our number 2. And he swayed me. So my number 2 might shock some people, but my number 2, I'm going to go with the Chicago Bears.
I agree with.
I think the Chicago Bears are going to have a, breakout season. I think there's still too many questions in Detroit, and the Minnesota Vikings, they haven't showed us nothing different. So, I'd have to say my top team, definitely Green Bay, and then I'd say Chicago. But Chicago, it's going to be right there. It's going to be a close one between Chicago and Minnesota. I just don't think Detroit's going to be that team this year. And I could be wrong, but that's just my opinion. Let us know in the comment what y'all think. I see, want to shout out the 615 podcast. Definitely we're going to have to get together and definitely do a show here soon, buddy. So thank you for tuning in. Glad to have your support.
Thanks so much. Yeah, wow.
All right, so let's see. let's go ahead and jump into the NFC East while we wait and see if anybody's gonna tell us their opinion on how they're gonna rank their top teams in each division. So, the NFC East, we got the Cowboys, New York Giants, the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Washington Commanders. Now, I know it shows the Redskins logo. I do apologize. I wasn't paying attention and used something old and not recent. So that is my drop on that. Tennessee Kid 90 says, "Hey you guys," which that's my wife. So shout out to my wife Erica.
Hey, girl, hey.
Hey. Let's see here. So I'll start out with this one. I say the number one team, is definitely going to be the Eagles. I would say my number two team would have to be the Cowboys in this division. And then I would go Washington and then New York. Would you agree with that order?
Gary, I absolutely love doing these things with you because I love that you go off of your knowledge and stats instead of what everyone else would be saying. I absolutely, completely agree with you that you've got the Eagles first. Most people would just look at that list and automatically say Cowboys just because that's America's team. But I can't imagine anything that the Cowboys have done lately to really just prove to us that they're still that top team. I am interested also in the New York Giants to see how they have kind of shifted. I know the Titans are going to get them first game. So it'll be interesting to kind of see how they've built around, they haven't really been a force to reckon with since Eli left, which has been a while. So maybe they've gotten to build up. But I definitely agree with you that Eagles will be number one. The Washington Commanders, I'm going to go with them as number two, actually. They always give Dallas a run for their money. And I think that this year could be the year that they get them. Then Dallas at number three. And then I'm just going to put the New York Giants down there at number four. And, maybe they, come in and shock everybody and prove me dead wrong. And that would be good for the Giants organization and the Giants fans. But I completely agree with you at putting the Eagles at number one.
All right. So real quick, we're going to jump to our comments right here. The 615 podcast said his NFC North ratings would be, and this is actually what I originally had till, me and PJ had that conversation and he swayed me. But he has number one, Green Bay, number two, Minnesota, number three, Chicago, number four, Detroit. And then P Shark says, "What's good? Congrats on y'all's first live show. Thank you, buddy. We definitely appreciate it. It's awesome to have y'all here in the chat." And then 615 podcast also said his NFC East rankings would be Philadelphia, New York Giants, Washington, and then Dallas. So, he moved Dallas to dead last. So, that I definitely could see the Cowboys kind of being a flux team in that division. They do have a lot of questions surrounding them. What's their running back gonna do? Is he gonna be able to run like he did in his first few years? Is he gonna be able to recapture that glory, or is he just gonna continue down this kind of downward spiral that he's been on? So that's gonna be really interesting to see. Let's see. Titan Pratty up Titan. What? He's April, can you read that one?
Yeah, Titan.Pratt.up Titan the checkup. What's good, y'all? I also see Power Hour in here. Shout out to Power Hour.
Oh yeah, what's up, Power Hour?
Woohoo! Thank you.
What's up, Michael?
Yes. So that's always good. So it's nice to see you guys in here. Go ahead, put in here your predictions of what we have now, the NFC North and the NFC East. We've done those. So go ahead and see what put in there for your predictions in there while we move to the NFC South.
All right, so the NFC South. Now, this division, in my opinion, is one of the most intriguing divisions in the NFC this year, because this is your division without, outside of Tom Brady, that you just have mystery at the quarterback position, on every single team. You got the Atlanta Titans, JK, Atlanta Falcons, who has Marcus Mariota reuniting with Arthur Smith. And if I'm correct, is Dean Pease still the defensive coordinator for Atlanta? So it is a reunion with that too. And then, of course, the Panthers, you got Sam Darnold, and then the recent signing of recent trade of Baker Mayfield. So, that's going to be a lot of questioning for them as well. And, let's just look at the amount of quarterbacks they've had since, they originally got rid of Cam Newton. They just haven't had a steady quarterback or any sort of steadiness on their team, in my opinion. And ever since their big Super Bowl run. Then you got the Saints with Jameis Winston, is Jameis going to be able to stay healthy? Is he still going to be, that quarterback that we've seen from Tampa Bay, the 30 for 30 Jameson? Or is he going to be, that I've reached my ceiling, I'm a decent or almost an elite QB in the NFL? And then with them not having Sean Payton, this is a really interesting division. So to get started, my number one for the NFC South is going to be Tampa Bay, hands down. My number two, this one's hard, because I really could see either three of these, being 2, 3, and 4. It could swap very easily. But, me, I have always been a Marcus Mariota supporter. He was, I really liked him in college, So with that being said, I'm going to say, I'm going to take the Atlanta Titans, JK again, Atlanta Falcons at number 2. I'm not so sure what we'll see coming out of Jameis Winston this year, so I'd have to put the Saints at number 3. And then the Panthers. I put the Panthers at number 4. They just have way too much to kind of prove, from a coaching staff, to upper office. There's just a lot to prove. Real quick, I want to jump into our comments. P Shark says the NFC North, he has Green Bay 1, Minnesota 2, Detroit 3, Chicago 4. And then he said for the NFC East, he has Philly 1, Dallas 2, New York Giants 3, and Washington 4. The 615 podcast says he has for the NFC South, Carolina 1, Tampa Bay 2, Atlanta 3, New Orleans 4. And then his NFC West is going to be LA Rams 1, Arizona 2, San Francisco 3, and Seattle 4, which is definitely the order that I would have to agree with you. That was the same order that I was going to put them. So yeah, that is I agree 100% with that. P Shark says the NFC South, he has Tampa Bay number 1, New Orleans number 2, Carolina number 3, and Atlanta number 4. So he has the Atlanta Titans coming in at number 4 there. So April, what are your NFC South predictions or rankings for this year's teams?
NFC South, I always say that the New Orleans Saints are my team away from my team, kind of like my home away from my home, although there still are a lot of questions. Mom just popped into the chat. Hey, Mom. Let's see. I'm going to go with, I do agree with Tampa Bay being number 1. You can never doubt Tom Brady, ever. It's going to be interesting to see the Panthers. I kind of think that the new quarterback trade is going to do them some good. Baker Mayfield is going to have some things to prove. So I'm going to go ahead and put them at number 2. And then I'm going to put New Orleans at number 3. There's still a lot of questions around them. And I just got to disagree. And I'm going to go with Atlanta number 4. I'm gonna put Atlanta last. I want to see them do good because I as well am a Marcus Mariota fan.
Yeah.
But there's, he's been out of playing for a while. He's been out of playing for over a year, as starting anyway. I mean, they've done a few okey doke calls, but not a whole lot. So with him, so I'm gonna go ahead and put him as last. I do see Power Hour here popped in. It's so good to hear from you, Michael. Let's see. He's got Packers, Eagles, Bucks, Rams, and that's pretty accurate. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, I would definitely have to agree with that. That's what I had: Packers, Eagles, Bucks, and Rams. So yeah, I think the NFC West is pretty self-explanatory. Of course, the LA Rams is the strongest team in that division. And then just from the way they started out, I think it was 7 games undefeated last year. That Arizona Cardinals, that they are. I think they're going to be the second best team. I think San Francisco might have a setback this year. And then Seattle. What are we going to see from Seattle? I think that's the team that has the biggest questions surrounding them, from the coach. Is the coach going to be able to do good without Russell Wilson? Who's their quarterback now? Do you know?
No, I'm unsure about who stepped in for quarterback for them. I don't recall seeing like a big story on it, so I'm going to go with whoever was their backup on their roster.
Okay, hey, if anybody is watching live and y'all know who the quarterback for Seattle is, can y'all let us know in the comments? And then while we do that, let's go ahead and hop on over to the AFC. So I'm really excited about this because the AFC is going to have a lot of tough divisions, a lot of tough divisions. And a lot of these are going to be, changing weekly. Drew Lock. All right. Thank you to the 615 podcast. Drew Lock. Okay. So,
thank you guys. Yeah.
So, man, yeah. I still think that there's a lot of questions surrounding them. I think it would be interesting to see Drew Lock throwing to DK Metcalf, but I don't think that that's going to be enough to put Seattle on the level of, the Cardinals or the Rams. Definitely not the Rams, So with that being said, let's hop back over to the AFC. So we're going to start out with the AFC North. We got the Ravens, the Bengals, the Cleveland Browns, and the Steelers. So, April, how would you rank the AFC North?
Oh, that one's always a tough one. They always fight so hard for that one. Seeing the Bengals come out of there on top last season was a sweet, bittersweet thing because it had been a couple of years, since they had been on top. The Browns, they fight every single year, especially with us. Whenever they play us, they bring out their best. Really shows what they could be. I think the biggest question mark is going to be the Steelers with their quarterback situation. So, if I had to pick now, it would definitely it's going to be the Bengals on top again. Then we got the Ravens. You can flip flop those out. You never know when Lamar is going to go off and have a great year. But I'm going to go with Bengals, and then Ravens, and then the Browns, and then the Steelers. Just because the Steelers have a big check mark, and you can never count them out, though. It's so hard because they have that defense that's just awesome, even though it's been a little bit absent lately. But I believe that this is the year that they could get it back, especially because they know they have to because they don't have Big Ben. But even with that, I'm going to say that the Browns are going to edge them out just a little bit for that third place space, and they're going to be last in the division. I know that you're going to disagree. I know, but that's what I love doing this show with you.
Yeah, I would definitely have to disagree. I would go Bengals number 1, Ravens number 2, Steelers number 3, and Cleveland Browns number 4. And the reason I have Cleveland number 4 is you don't know. And shout out to the 615 podcast, because he knows exactly where I'm going with this. Is you don't know if Deshaun is going to be suspended. And guess what? You no longer have Baker Mayfield as a backup. So if by some chance, which if I'm correct, I think things are kind of trending in his favor. We are still waiting to hear back from Judge Sue Robinson's findings. And as soon as we do, we are definitely going to be breaking that. We'll be bringing that to y'all live. So just be keeping an eye out for that. But definitely, if Deshaun Watson is suspended, even for just 6 to 8 games, that's 6 to 8 games that you really don't have a QB for. What are you supposed to do? I think there's too much surrounding the Cleveland Browns, from outside of football that is probably going to play effect on the inside on the team and the coaching staff. And you already see how it's already affected the players. They've all come out on social media saying, that they're always getting asked these questions and stuff. So it's already having an effect on the locker room. So, I'd have to put the Cleveland Browns under the Steelers. I think, this is going to be the year that the Browns just really kind of drop off. Of course, can't be as bad as the year they went and won 0 games. So can't be that bad. Real quick, he said if Deshaun isn't suspended, he said he'd have Cleveland 3 and Pittsburgh 4. So he would definitely agree to you. Yeah. So, and that's the thing is, if Deshaun isn't suspended, then yeah, easily he elevates them to that number 3, even possibly number 2. I could see him battling the Ravens and possibly, taking that from them. So that is a good possibility. And then I want to give a quick shout out to Noah Cersei, who will be definitely joining us on our show here in a little bit. That is our nephew. And he said the NFC South, he has Tampa 1, Saints 2, Falcons 3, Panthers 4. And then the Power Hour said, I can't give AFC predictions yet, but I expect New England to take a slight tumble this year. I'd have to definitely agree on that. I would say that the AFC East is where we're getting into now. It's definitely another one of them really tough divisions that it could go any way. I think your clear number 1 is definitely the Bills. And then your number 2 is going to be between the Dolphins and New England. And this might shock some people, but I think I'm going to have the Dolphins taking the edge over New England this year, especially with the addition of Tyreek Hill to Tua. I think those two are going to make for a great combination down there in Miami. So that's going to be another exciting one to keep an eye on. And then, of course, that puts the New York Jets at number 4. Do you agree with that?
I can agree with that. I don't want to say clear favorites are the Bills. They do have a slight edge over the Dolphins. But, the Dolphins are scrappers, and you never want to count them out. They're going in with Tua again as their quarterback. He's getting better every year. It's also really hard to count out Bill Belichick and put him down there at that number 3 spot because he's such a good coach. So can it be like a 4-way tie and then we decide, later? I don't know if that's the case. But no, I would have to agree. I'll say Bills, Dolphins, and then definitely got to go with New England, and then the Jets.
Definitely. And I want to give a quick shout out to, the 615 podcast. He said his AFC East number 1 is Buffalo, number 2 is Miami, number 3 New England, number 4 Jets. So, he had the same lineup I did. Let's see here. Let's go into the AFC South. Shout out AFC South. Hashtag Tighten up. Let's go. Noah Cersei says AFC South, he has the Titans number 1, Colts number 2, Texans number 3, Jaguars number 4. So, I kind of agree with him. I have the Titans coming in at number 1 this year. I have the Colts as the clear-cut number 2. It's going to be definitely a close fight between the Titans and the Colts. Then I have the Jaguars. I'm going to take the Jaguars at number 3. I feel a lot more confident with what they have down there. And then Houston. Houston coming in at number 4 because there's just so many questions down there in Houston now, and I don't see them being that team. I don't see them being able to push through and be that clear cut number 3. So, I think this AFC South is going to be the one division in the AFC that should be pretty self-explanatory. Titans, then Colts, then Jaguars and Texans. Real quick, let's hop into our comments. We got the 615 podcast saying the AFC South, he has Tennessee 1. Ooh, look at this. Jacksonville number 2. Wow. Then he has the Colts at number 3 and Houston at 4. Man, that is very interesting. He thinks the Colts or the Jaguars have enough to upset the Colts again. They upset them last year and knocked them out of the playoffs. So, that's I'm pretty excited to see that. Let's see. We got P Shark says Titans number 1, 2 through 4 don't care. LOL. And then Tennessee Kid 90 said Titans hashtag number 1. Who cares about the rest? So shout out to my wife. She's right. Hashtag tighten up. Hashtag number 1. Let's do it. Excuse me, guys. All right. Let's hop into the AFC West. Now, this division is one of the divisions that I am kind of excited about to watch unfold for us this year. With Russell Wilson at Denver. Then we got, Patrick Mahomes and Kansas City Chiefs. And you got Derek Carr and the Raiders. And then you got the Chargers. So, April, how would you rank this division, the AFC West?
Well, I'm kind of offended that you didn't want my opinion on the AFC South, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead, give your opinion.
You already know. I mean, it's the Titans number 1. I agree with you. It's going to be a tough race between the Titans and the Colts. But I said on a earlier podcast, and that was the Power Hour, that I think that the Texans could be the sleeper. I'm still going to stick with that. So I'm going to go with Texans number 3 and Jaguars number 4. Now, I do find it interesting that the 615 podcast with the Jaguars at number 2 gave me something else to think about. They are kind of like that silent partner, just kind of working in silence. So, that can definitely be swapped out there. But right now I'm going to go with Tennessee, then the Colts, and then the Texans, and then the Jaguars. Moving down to the AFC West, you got to put Kansas City at number 1. They're going to be number 1 for me. And then, you're going to have your, it's so hard because you got the Broncos coming in that has Russell Wilson. Then you've got, your Raiders. You never want to count out Derek Carr. And then you've got your Chargers, who always come up and end up, finishing very well. I think that this is going to be one to fight for in positions 2 through 4. If I had to take a wild guess at it, I'm going to say Russell Wilson, kind of does for the Broncos what Peyton Manning did. So I'm going to put them at number 2. It's a bold prediction, I know. So I'm going to go with number 2. It's going to be Broncos. the Raiders and LA can kind of fight it out. So I will go with Raiders. Raiders 3, Chargers 4. They could be flip flopped. So to me.
Yeah, so real quick, I want to go into our comments and give a quick shout out. Our mom, Sandra Bailey, says Titans 1, Colts 2, Jacksonville 3, Houston 4. And, I was going to say something about that, and I completely forgot what I was going to say. Man, I hate them moments. But
I think it was probably going to be about Houston being the sleeper because you absolutely hate it that I say that because you absolutely believe that Jacksonville is the sleeper, and I can see that too. But I'm sure that's what you were going to say. Something about that.
No, I don't think it was. I don't think it was so much on that as it was. I think Houston definitely has a lot of questions, way too many questions to be that clear cut number 3 or even fighting for number 2. I mean, that just come on, they're the weakest team just about in the NFL right now. So I wanna kind of hop onto your order of the AFC West, and I want to give a quick shout out to the 615 podcast who says his AFC West order is the Los Angeles Chargers 1, Denver Broncos 2, Kansas City 3, and Las Vegas Raiders 4. So I kind of agree with that. I have a couple of changes, or one change that I'm going to make to that order. I would say the LA Chargers are coming in at number 1 for me on my list. And then at number 2, I have Russell Wilson coming in at number 2 in the Denver Broncos. My number 3 is going to be, drum roll please, it's going to be the Raiders. I think the Las Vegas Raiders are going to have a better season than Kansas City. I think this is going to be the year that Kansas City gets exposed because let's look at, games in the past. What really has Patrick Mahomes been able to do consistently when he was consistently without Tyreek Hill? When Tyreek Hill wasn't on that field, Patrick Mahomes struggles. And I think he's a great quarterback, but I think there's a lot of questions on that offense. And I think if there's going to be a season or a year for the Kansas City to slip up and come dead last in their division, I think this is going to be that year. I think that they're putting all their cards into one pot, and I think it's going to backfire on them. I do see. The Las Vegas Raiders, or sorry, I said that wrong. The, what are they? They're, no, I said that right. Las Vegas Raiders, sorry. So the Las Vegas Raiders, I have, coming in at number 3. I think that connection between Derek Carr and, oh man, I'm drawing blank again. What's that wide receiver's name they got from Green Bay? I'm drawing a blank. It is is it DeAndre? No, not DeAndre Hopkins. Oh my goodness, what is his name? Well, anyway, I can't think of the wide receiver's name, but he played for Green Bay. He now plays for the Raiders. He also played with Derek Carr in his college. And Devontae Adams, thank you, P Shark. So shout out to P Shark. Devontae Adams, thank you. I knew it was Devontae something. I just couldn't get it out. But thank you. So Devontae Adams. I see that connection really heating up and transpiring into something big, especially once we get kind of closer to the middle of the season, going into later on in the season, pushing close to the playoffs. I think they have more to offer than Kansas City Chiefs do right now. So that's my predictions. I have Kansas City coming in dead last. What do you think about that?
I don't know. I think you're a little bit early on writing them off. You know, they did just get Josh Gordon, which has great reviews coming out of minicamp and OTAs. So, you know, and I think last year it was kind of like what they were saying with Tannehill. Like he just didn't get the time with the receivers, even though Tannehill did. So I think that since he's coming in with Josh Gordon and they have already had this mini camp, and then they're going to have all training camp and everything, I think that, you know, Tyreek Hill may be like a who is that when it comes to Kansas City. So we'll definitely see. We'll keep an eye on it, say who is, you know, see kind of who is right, and go for there. But the rest of your rankings, I mean, I would have to agree, except I'm not sure. I'm not sure about where we're putting the Raiders here, but at least we agreed on one, and that was at Denver at number 2. So that'll be interesting to see if Denver does end up number 2 with Russell Wilson.
Definitely. And you know, the power hour, so shout out to Michael Bishop. Michael Bishop brings up a great point. You know, Kansas City not having the honey badger will really hurt them, you know, in the backfield. And so that's just another thing, you know, that adds to that reasoning behind me saying that this is not Kansas City year. I'm sorry. I've seen the Titans go out there and trash Kansas City when they didn't have Tyreek Hill on that field. And now you don't have that weapon for Patrick Mahomes to target. You know, Patrick Mahomes is going to be under a lot more pressure. The 615 podcast says they also got Juju Smith-Schuster. So, yeah, I just don't see Juju being that replacement, or even coming close to being that replacement for Tyreek Hill. You know, when the Steelers lost Antonio Brown, you know, and Juju had the opportunity to step up, you know, he didn't quite fill Antonio Brown's shoes, you know, and I think that's going to be the same thing that plays out in Kansas City. You know, he is definitely in my opinion, a good receiver, but he's not one of the great receivers in the NFL right now. So with all that being said, April, you ready to do some Titans talk? Some talking Titans with some Titans talking with April?
I'm always ready to do that.
All right, so let's hop on over. So, all right, real quick, before we get started, I'm going to take the time to April, let's talk about some special teams real quick. Are you there?
I am here. I was having a little bit of technical difficulties. Special teams. Let's get into it for the Titans. It's a lot. You know, you got to hope that, you know, our kickers do what they're supposed to do. We've went through phases where we've had some not so good kickers, and we've seen how, you know, those games turned out. I think that we have Dad Bod Randy now. That he's consistent. You know, he don't put up wow numbers, but he's definitely consistent. So I think that, you know, having him is going to help us out in the long run, because we know exactly where we need to get the football in order to get him to get it through. You know, he's not going to be cooking, you know, 53, 56 yarders, but, you know, he could get the job done. Also, we have a great punter in Brett Kern coming back. God forbid he ever retire. I hope that he doesn't, because he is one of the best punters in the NFL. So it's going to be really good to see him back and see him back out there. The rest of the special teams, is definitely up for grabs. I hope that, they're able to pull it together. But it's going to be really, really, it's going to be a job. It's going to be a job to kind of watch and see the holes that need to be filled on special teams.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. I think something that excites me is the chance of maybe, if I'm saying his name right, Hashawn Haskins. Did I say that correctly? But is definitely see if he is going to be participating on the special teams, you know, as well as backing up Derrick Henry. I think that's going to be something interesting. I know for a while the Titans did kind of use their backup running backs on their special teams, so that's something I'm kind of curious to see. Real quick, I want to give a quick shout out to the 615 podcast. He said next Wednesday evening I'll have Ryan Harris from the Jump Pass podcast at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So, real quick, everybody, definitely if you don't know who the 615 podcast is, definitely search it in your YouTube search bar. Type in the 615 podcast. Definitely hit the like, the subscribe, and turn on notifications for him. And then check him out Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern time.
Also, check out the Power Hour. We did a segment with Ed. He is an amazing host, and he has some really great content as well.
Definitely. And then I want to say P Shark has a podcast as well. So, check him out on Twitter and check out his podcast on YouTube. So, with all that being said, I'm really excited to see what the state of the Titans special team is this year. Are we going to be that team who can, return it 40, 50 yards and, possibly give Tannehill the advantage of having less distance to go down the field? Obviously there's a lot of people who are still questioning Ryan Tannehill's arm talent, his strength, his accuracy. I think there's a lot of us who have our minds set and made already on Tannehill. So, I think if the special teams, come out like that, where they're able to set us up at the, at the opponent's, like 40, or 30 yard line, if they're able to give us like them 50, 60 yard returns, I see Tannehill doing a lot better this season. So real quick, April, let me ask you this. Real quick, the 615 podcast shots just said that he thinks Cal Phillips will be our returner. Now that I could really agree on. And then P Shark said, yep, the Let's Be Real podcast, and he said thanks for the shout out. So definitely P Shark, man, no problem. So everybody definitely go check out the Let's Be Real podcast. Give them some support, give them some likes over there. Definitely, I think he just changed over to that, if I'm correct. I'm not 100% sure, but I think he just swapped to that podcast full time. I could be wrong though, but yeah, I agree with the 615 podcast here saying, Cal Phillips. I keep forgetting about Cal Phillips. Cal Phillips, I'm really excited for. I think he's gonna be the kind of that slot go-to guy for us, the slants, and I'm really excited to see what he's doing, what he has going on, or what he has to offer for us this year. And then the Power Hour said Ryan Harris is doing the media rounds this week. He said, I'll have him this Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So if you're not doing nothing this Monday night, this coming up Monday night, check out the Power Hour on YouTube at 7 p.m. Eastern time. I want to say that's 6 p.m. Central Time. So definitely check him out. He's definitely a a really intelligent person. I love his podcast. I love his takes and his segments. It was really awesome to be on his show. So once again, quick shout out to Michael Bishop of the Power Hour. I think the Titans could have a pretty decent shot at having a good special teams. The biggest question, of course, is the kicker. And P Shark says, "Yeah, I had 3 podcasts and conduced them to oh my goodness, I'm sorry, I'm stumbling over my own words." And he conduced down to 2, got rid of the Let's Tighten Up podcast to make more Titans on the Let's Be Real podcast. So definitely, guys, check out the Let's Be Real podcast. Check out P Shark there, man. Definitely, I used to watch the Let's Tighten Up podcast all the time. So, real quick, I want to shout out to you. I want to shout out to Mr. Titan. I want to shout out to A to Z Sports. Watching, y'all guys, it kind of inspired me to get started and to push this far to where we are now. Definitely love talking football, love the Titans. And just this whole journey has been awesome, to see the support from everybody. It's been awesome, definitely learned a lot about myself. And it's just awesome, and really excited for the future. We have a lot of stuff in store for y'all here at What's Shakin' Titans. So let's hop into our top 5 running backs and Titans Oilers history. April, real quick, we are going to play a quick segment, and this will have our actual first guest ever on our show. So real quick, we're going to hop over to that, and then we'll be right back. What's going on, everybody? I would like to take the time to welcome in our very first guest to the show. His name is Noah Searcy. Let's get him in here with us. Noah, how are you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing awesome. So for all the What's Shakin' Titans fans out there, Noah is actually mine and April's nephew. He has been a strong supporter of our channel since day one. So Noah, we wanted to take the time to say thank you. And we also wanted to make sure that you are our very first guest that we had on our show. So with all that being said, Noah, today's topic that we're going to be breaking down is going to be the top 5 running backs in Titans Oilers history. So Noah, do you have your top 5 running backs ready?
Yes, I do.
Awesome. All right, so let's get this started out here, Noah. Let's list your top 5 running backs, starting with number 5.
Okay, so for number 5, I have DeMarco Murray.
DeMarco Murray. All right, what about number 4?
Number 4, I have number 4 running back is Chris Johnson.
That's a good choice for number 4. All right, number 3.
I have the King, Derrick Henry.
All right, and what about your next one?
And for number 2, I have Eddie George.
All right, and who's your number 1 running back of all time for Titans history?
Earl Campbell.
Earl Campbell. All right, so that's a good list, buddy, and I like the order that you put that in. It's definitely an amazing list. So let's break that down a little bit. So can you tell us the reasoning behind you picking DeMarco Murray as the Titans' 5th best running back in history?
Well, you see, he played from 2016 to 2017, and within that one season, or 2 seasons, he had 1,946 rushing yards, also had 15 rushing touchdowns, and overall he had 2,588 yards.
Yeah, that sounds about right. It sounds like you actually took the time to dig into the stats of these, and that's a great sign, buddy. So definitely keep up the good work. All right, so DeMarco Murray is your fifth. Chris Johnson was your number four. So reveal to us why you picked Chris Johnson as your number four.
Well, Chris Johnson started in 2008, a month before I was born. So I grew up with Chris Johnson being the Titans running back and one of my favorite players. And another reason, the statistics for him, he had in the 6 seasons he played for the Titans, he had 7,765 rushing yards, 50 rushing touchdowns, and then overall 9,985 yards in total.
Yeah, definitely. So you got Chris Johnson coming in at number four there. He was also held the record for the fastest, what was it, 40-yard dash time, coming out of college. So I think it was 4.24 seconds, I think.
Yep.
So, all right, and then at number three, you got the king, Derrick Henry. Would you like to kind of break that down for us?
The reason I put Derrick Henry as number 3 is because since he had that injury last year, his rushing yards are not high as they could be, but he still has a long ways to go. So he could make number 1 or 2 in the list later on after he finished his career. But besides the injury he had last year, he has 6,797 rushing yards, 65 rushing touchdowns, and then 8,133 yards in total.
Yep, that sounds like the king for you. All right, and then coming in at number 2, you got Eddie George. So, first of all, I love me some Eddie George. So, let's hear your reasoning behind making Eddie George the second best running back.
Well, you see, he also was paired with Steve McNair, and he has some great statistics. So, for instance, he has 10,446 rushing yards in the time he played for the Titans, and then has 68 rushing touchdowns, and overall yards he has 12,868.
Definitely, George was a beast in his day. He was a little bit smaller than Derrick Henry, I believe, height and weight wise too, but they are very similar in stature and build. All right, so coming in at number 1, Noah, who do you have for number 1?
For number 1, I got the legend Earl Campbell.
All right, and so what's your reasoning behind picking Earl? You got stats on him as well?
Yep, and one reason is because he deserves that number 1 spot. He came to the team a rookie and got it together real fast and became one of the best running backs ever in NFL history.
Definitely, he definitely did. He's a legend. He played a lot of rough football back in the day. Football was a different type of sport back then than it is now. So, yeah, Noah, I would like to take the time to thank you for joining us here on What's Shakin' Titans. I definitely love your top 5, and I believe me and April will be revealing our top 5 running backs in Titan Oilers history coming up here in a little bit. So definitely stay tuned, everybody. As always, check us out on all of our social media platforms. If you're not yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, hit the subscribe. And there we go. So that was Noah with his top 5 running backs. April, what do you think about that? First of all, I want to give a quick shout out to our nephew because he really put in the work, and he delivered with stats and numbers and was just on point, and just gave a phenomenal report on this top 5. And real quick, somebody else giving them a little shout out. P Shark says no one knows his stuff. The 615 podcast says I've got a couple of surprises in early August 9th. Former Titans safety Donnie Nicky. And then August 17th, former Houston Oilers wide receiver Mike Holston. So, yeah, man, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm going to definitely have to tune into those for sure. So, guys, mark your calendars, August 9th and then August 17th at 615 podcast. So, April, what's your opinions on Noah's top 5?
Noah did an excellent job, and I'm so proud of him. And me and our mom, we all just kind of gathered around him and helped him become that Titan fan, and so it makes me so happy at my heart. But he is completely right. I completely agree with his list from, Earl Campbell being number 1. And Eddie George being number 2. I don't think he needs any more explanation on these numbers. He did an excellent job, and I'm so proud of him. Derrick Henry number 3. He's right. Derrick Henry still has a long way to go in his career. I think a lot of people are already kind of counting him as, a veteran. He'll be over his time soon, but nothing has shown that to me. I still see him as someone that still has potential to grow and still has potential to become the Earl Campbell runner. So I'm not going to say that this is, he's closing out his career or anything like that, because I haven't seen any evidence of that. And I think he's only going to grow and get better. But I think Noah's list is excellent. I completely agree. It's crazy to think that he was born the year that Chris Johnson was our quarterback. Chris Johnson was our running back. Just proves how old I am. So, yeah, I think his list is excellent. I love the placement of all of those running backs, and I have to agree 100%.
Okay, so who would you have as your number 5? Do you agree with him with DeMarco Murray as being the 5th best running back for the Titans?
Yeah. I would say DeMarco Murray or Lindell White. I think you could bring Lindell White into the mix if you're going to go down to number 5. Both of them had similar numbers when they were here, and Lindell White was kind of the thunder to Chris Johnson's lightning. So I think that you got to bring them up in the conversation. So yeah, I think he's kind of interswapped. You could put one or the other there for the number 5 position, whether it be Lindell White or DeMarco Murray. They're kind of similar.
Definitely. So, once again, I'd like to give a quick shout out to our nephew Noah for making that top 5 list. You did an awesome job. We're proud of you. We love you. And definitely look forward to having you back on our podcast in the near future. So my top 5 running backs, I think the first 4 are self-explanatory. I'm with you. I'm kind of on the fence on having Lindell White or someone else who, I don't know, maybe had a more of a stay with the Titans. I think if you're talking about the best running back in franchise history, we also need to look at the longevity of how long they played for us, So with that being said, I'd have to go White 4, Chris Johnson 3, White 5, Johnson 4. And here's where it's gonna really start getting kind of interesting. So I'm going Eddie George, number 3, and I'm going Derrick Henry as number 2. And I know his stats ain't quite there yet, but I would kind of really break that down in just a second. Of course, Earl Campbell is the clear-cut number 1 running back in our history, in our franchise's history. Real quick shout out to Noah. Says thanks for letting me be on y'all's thanks for letting me be y'all's first guest. Definitely, buddy. You know, you've been supporting us from day one. You've been there on Facebook, on Twitter. You know, you supported us when we did our audio podcast on Anchor, and then we went from Anchor to Spotify, and you know, we just steadily been growing. So you've definitely been one of our biggest supporters, and we thank you for that. Yeah, at the Power Hour says he'd give honorable mention to Steve McNair as a rusher. I definitely concur with that. For me though, I would have to say I'm calling Derrick Henry at number 2, and no disrespect to Eddie George. I love Eddie George. He is one of my all-time favorite running backs in the NFL. But if I line up Eddie George beside Derrick Henry, and I'm looking at the more explosive, more physical player, I'm going Derrick Henry. I'm going Derrick Henry all day, every day, hands down. No second guessing it. Derrick Henry. When you break a 99-yard rushing touchdown, okay, you stiff arm one guy completely off of you. Then you realize you have nobody around you. But you are so pumped up. What do? You look behind you. You look behind you. You turn, you look behind you. You see somebody running up. You grab his head and you throw this poor man across New York City. I mean, you picked him up and you slung him. I mean, that poor guy from Jacksonville. I mean, like, Derrick Henry just looked back and just like, you shouldn't have been behind me, buddy. You're going to get thrown. You know, when you can do plays like that, I really think that, you know, that's something that we just really didn't see that much. Eddie George was a physical player. Don't get me wrong. The Ray Lewis battle that he had, you know, that rivalry was amazing to watch growing up. I mean, that you're talking about some real man hitting. But you know, I definitely think I would take. I'm taking Derrick Henry, number 2.
Well, Gary, I know that you mentioned, and we know that who your number 1 is going to be, your favorite. But you mentioned, you know, the Ray Lewis with Eddie George, and I would just have to ask you, and you know, this is just for, you know, just to intrigue, how many of the players that Derrick Henry has stiff-armed or, you know, come across been at the same level defensively as Ray Lewis? And I think that's kind of what puts, you know, the icing on the cake there, as to kind of see. It would be interesting just to compare the two, as far as, because, you know, Ray Lewis was just that very physical player. Mentally, he got into your head, and very physical player. And, you know, Chris Brown is a good one to mention, too. Their 615 podcast is mentioning. So it's funny. Lorenzo White, was it Lorenzo or was it Lindell, or is it two different players? That's interesting to find out. But, you know, I just don't think I want to put him above Eddie George yet. Just to wait to see if I can compare the two, the defensive players that he has had to face, the King has had to face, to the defensive players that Eddie George has had to face.
Yeah, well, you know, I also have to give it to Derrick Henry because, you know, Ray Lewis is a great player and everything, but there's never been a defensive player in NFL history like the lights of Aaron Donald. There is not another defensive player that will match his type of production and consistency from the start to where he is at. There's not another player, in my opinion. So, with that being said, I definitely see that there are players out there who are big time defensive players who do kind of have it back and forth with Henry. Now, of course, there's just not that there's not a lot of big like Ray Lewis's in the NFL right now, but you do have a lot of big name people at other positions on the defense, and we can't overlook that. I mean, first of all, Derrick Henry is manhandling people in the lights of Josh Norman, Earl Thomas, the guy from Detroit, the Detroit Lions, and that dude was big, I mean, you're talking about Derrick Henry makes these guys look like their little brother just picked a fight with the big brother, and the big brother just throws him around like it ain't nothing. And that was just something that you might get with Eddie George from time to time. Eddie George was that one cut, just straight through the hole type player, in my opinion. And, he lowered his shoulder and he kept his feet going. You took his feet out from underneath him, you got him down. Derrick Henry's somewhat of the same way. The only difference is Derrick Henry has one of the best stiff arms the NFL has ever seen, and possibly will ever see, out of one specific player. So, I'd have to stick strong with my prediction, or with me calling Derrick Henry number 2. I think by the time it's all said and done, Derrick Henry will definitely be the clear-cut number 2. And let's get caught up real quick in our comments. Let's see. P Shark says, in that case, Vince Young's gotta get an honorable mention too. Yeah. So Vince Young needs honorable mention. And if you're gonna do that, then I guess in a way, so does Marcus Mariota, because he, if I'm correct, he holds the franchise record for the Titans for the longest quarterback run. I could be wrong, but we'll have to look at that. I'm pretty sure he holds that record still. Let's see. Who else would we include in that as an honorable mention for a runner?
I don't think that there's another one that we could have put in there. We haven't had. I think those are the only mobile quarterbacks.
Would you?
But I will say, 615 says Lorenzo White. They're two different players. 615 was that Billy White's shoes or no? No, that was somebody different, right? Warren Moon. Okay. Yeah, Warren Moon would definitely go mention. I can't believe we left him out. We just mentioned him last week.
Yeah, well, I hadn't even got to that point of thinking yet, but yeah, Warren Moon is definitely, he was definitely one of the all-time greats at quarterbacks. In my opinion, he is definitely one of my elite heroes, like growing up. Just what Warren Moon kind of represented in his time, and his character and the way he kept fighting, when he had to leave and go to the Canadian Football League, the CFL, and then come back, Warren Moon, he definitely is one of the all-time greats. One of my favorite quarterbacks. The way he throws the ball was like a cannon. That thing would it sounded like the leather would rip right off the balls. He'd break his wide receivers' fingers a lot of times. I'll talk all day about Warren Moon now. Let's see. P Shark says, I think Mariota got the NFL record for the longest TD run by QB with that 87-yard against the Jags. Yeah, see, I think so. I agree. That's what I was thinking about. So, yeah, I believe that's something Mariota still holds to this day. So he definitely deserves an honorable mention in this as well. And then the 615 podcast says, White Shoes was a wide receiver.
Thank you for that information. Definitely needed that one.
All right. So, real quick, guys, just to do a quick little break real quick, kind of break up what we're talking about. If you're not yet already subscribed to our YouTube channel, please take this time to hit the subscribe button. Take and turn on the notifications so you get the latest from What's Shakin' Titans. And as always, check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We are on Spotify and Anchor. We also have a website. You can check all these things out in the description below. There will be links to all of our different accounts. We want to take the time to thank everybody once again for joining us live, for y'all's feedback and y'all's comments. We love the support. We love you guys. We appreciate all of y'all. And the Power Hour has a good point here. So, does Adrian Peterson count? Now, I fought with that in my head. I'm not gonna lie. I fought with that in my head because, like, if you think about it, that's three. The Tennessee Titans have now had three 2,000-yard rushers on their team.
I think they do it a bit now. Saying Randy Moss, yeah, it was one of. No, I don't think you can count him.
But yeah, man, if we had old AP, definitely, But I mean, also if you go off of records, then you do have to include him. If you're going off of numbers and stats, he played for us, so technically
Let's go ahead and include Foreman. Foreman did amazing for us last year, stepping in. So.
Oh yeah, Foreman was awesome. But the thing is what has Foreman showed solidly over his NFL career span? He hasn't really. He's shown a few sparks down in when he played for the Texans. And and then he started kind of declining, and then we picked him up. And lo and behold, he was a great person to fill in for Derrick Henry. Real quick, Sandy Bailey, our mom, said he should count. So she was talking about Adrian Peterson. So yeah, definitely. If you want to go off of records and stats and stuff, like NFL, like total stats, you'd have to include AP in that. But if not, if you're going off of for just the time they played for the Titans, that changes up that conversation. It takes AP off that list. So April, you still there? Alrighty, guys. We're having some technical difficulties, so if y'all can give us just 1 second. All right, guys, we're back with y'all here. So sorry about that quick interruption there. The 615 podcast says, I say Derrick will be a two-time 2,000-yard rusher with 2,125 yards this season. So real quick, 615 podcast, hop onto our website and check out the article I wrote about Derrick Henry, because I actually in this article go on to say how I think Derrick Henry will go on to become the first player in NFL history to ever go for 2K yards in the 2022 season. So, 2022 to 2K, why not? I definitely think, especially with all the doubt that people have been putting out and circulating around national media, this man's going to come in here fired up. He's fired up, and he's coming in here looking bigger than ever, too. So you better watch out, NFL, because if this man comes back and he is playing on the level that he was playing on before he got hurt, I'm sorry, but Derrick Henry, clear cut, gonna get another 2,000 yard season. And let's stop for a second. And if he gets another 2,000 yard season this year, let's imagine if he actually was able to finish last year on top of that too. The man would have definitely, in my opinion, I called it before we drafted him. It was 2 or 3 weeks before we drafted him. I sat down and I had a conversation with my sister, April. And I told her during this conversation that, I had the Titans. I think the Titans should draft Derrick Henry. And I told her that night that I believe Derrick Henry would go on to become the greatest running back to ever play in the NFL. And that was a lot. That was a lot saying that. Derrick Henry is very, very unique. We don't have anyone else like him in the NFL, period. He is like the Aaron Donald of the offense, There's no one else in the NFL that can come close to the type of player that Derrick Henry is. He is a mixture of old school and new school. And he is just he has that tough nose, I'm going to run it right down your throat type of mentality. And if you get in my way, you're going to get a stiff arm. I'm going to throw you out of my way. Real quick, 615 podcast says, if he breaks Eric Dickerson's record, we could be talking future NFL Hall of Fame. I agree. Definitely. Like, this man is going to be a Hall of Famer. No doubt. By the time Derrick Henry's story is said and done and is written in stone, this man will definitely be in the NFL Hall of Fame. No question asked. The 615 podcast also said if he didn't get hurt last season, he was on pace for 2,200 yards. So, yeah. And like I said, let's just sit back. If he hits 2,000 yards, this season, just think about that. That would have been 3 seasons back to back. He would have had 2K. Easily go down in history as the greatest running back ever. So I'm really excited to see what comes from Derrick Henry. We all know that the Titans are going to have to rely on that running game, if they want to get anywhere, because we really have too many questions outside of the running back. When it comes to our wide receivers and our tight ends, until that regular season gets here and we actually see whether Burks is going to be on the field and participating, and if he's caught up enough to be that contender for us, or to be that replacement for AJ, are we going to have to rely on Woods a lot more than what we should have to? Hooper, or Hooker, or Amani Hooker. Yeah, sorry. Did I say that right? Or Hooper? Which one is it? Austin Hooper. Hooker.
Yeah, it's Austin Hooper from, that's the new tight end that we got.
Yeah. Man, I was bouncing all over the place with my names there, guys. So I do apologize for that. But yeah, so, and then we have him at tight end. We just, I think the tight end is going to be the stronger of the two out of the wide receivers and the tight ends. I think tight ends is going to be a little bit stronger this year. But I do say that the wide receiver room, it could be pretty nasty. I'm not in a bad way, but in a good way. And I mean that because if Burks actually comes out and he starts playing like he did when he was in college for Arkansas, the NFL, there's going to be some teams in trouble because, I mean, this man was putting up like 120 yards against Bama, and all these big college teams. He was putting up 100-yard games on these people. So, if he can achieve that level of gameplay in the NFL, it'd be great for the Titans, and then you really, really get to talking about Derrick Henry, his production going through the roof at that point in time, because then you're pulling, out of the 8 or 9 people in the box to stop Derrick Henry to cover down the field, because you can't put them all in the box because if you do, then you're going to get torched down the field. And, I think it would have been awesome to have A.J. Brown and Burks on the field at the same time. But, I think A.J. felt, it was just it wasn't going to happen between him and the Titans, so that's something we all got to kind of just suck up and move on from. I think Burks might have a decent shot at, kind of filling those shoes, but I wouldn't put all my stock into it. I think the Titans still have a lot of questions to answer. So with that being said, April, is there anything else you would like to talk on or cover real quick?
No, I would like to say that next week, I would like to break down the win-losses that we can look at in the categories, in the category for this season, to see, what games we think will win, what games we think will lose. So that's exciting to see on next week's live podcast. So we have some exciting topics to talk about, and I just can't wait to get to those. This is coming up is my favorite time of year. We've got the training camps. We're going to have so many things coming out of training camp to see, and then of course during training camp you have your preseason, so we get to watch some football. This is our last couple of weeks without football, guys. We got this. So just keep joining in and getting your dose of football. Joining all of these podcasts have been great. Thank you guys so much for joining in on our live, and we will do the same for you. Thank you guys for commenting and being there for us, and we really appreciate you guys.
Definitely. Done completely separately at a later time, probably once we get a little bit closer to the start of preseason, and that way we have something to kind of see I guess have more of a visual and give me more of an idea of what kind of team we do have. Once we kind of get through training camp a little bit, I'll be ready to make that call for me.
You want to cheat. No, I'm just kidding.
So, definitely, real quick, want to shout out to everybody who's watching us, Peace Shark, the 615 podcast, the Power Hour. Thank you guys so much. Noah, Mom, all you. We thank y'all. The 615 podcast says, I'm also doing my end of the season award prediction next Wednesday night. And a little sneak peek, Mike Vrabel will be back-to-back Coach of the Year. Let's go. Yes, let's go. I back that 100%. Mike Vrabel, hashtag Coach of the Year 2 times. Two-time Coach of the Year. 2-time Coach of the Year, Coach. Coach of the Year 2 times. So, definitely, definitely excited to see that. I think he said that will be next Wednesday. So, definitely stay tuned. Go over to the Power Hour. Go over to the 615 podcast. Go over to, what is it? Sorry, I just drew a blank. Go over to, let me scroll up through our comments.
Let's be real.
Thank you. Let's be real.
Yeah.
I'm There it is. I see it too now. So go on over to the Let's Be Real podcast. Drop P Shark a like, a subscribe. Go over to the Power Hour. Drop Mike Michael Bishop a like and a subscribe, and go over to the 615 podcast and drop them a like and a subscribe. Definitely we thank you guys for your support. As always, thank you for tuning in to What's Shakin' Titans with Gary and April. We hope everybody has a wonderful night, and we will catch y'all next time.